The CharCole podcast is recorded in front of a live studio audience. Any reproduction, rebroadcast, or reuse of any of the materials contained within this podcast is strictly prohibited without the express written consent of the CharCole podcast. Welcome back to the CharCole podcast. This is episode 28 of the podcast, and it's officially basketball season now, so we're going to start recapping games and previewing games. And up first, on Tuesday, December 8th, the Lady Titans went over to MCM and played them in a very close contest, with the final score being 57-44. Without getting into stats, what were your thoughts on that game?
It was kind of interesting to watch because you had all this anticipation coming into the year, and we came in a loss to a team which wasn't ranked when I thought we should be ranked. So it really maybe humbles us and the team a little bit to get them back to work. But I see us being much improved throughout the year. If we don't improve, we're going to be in trouble.
Yep.
Because of what it looked like last night, there was a couple shots here and there that could have fell. And what it flat out comes out to be, and I talked to you about this throughout the game, I was like, if we don't get the ball to Emily more, we aren't going to win.
Yeah.
And no offense to anybody else on that team, but she can create the most shots. And you don't win games giving it to people who can't make a shot. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You win games by points. You don't win games by getting everybody else a shot. So that's just what I think.
Yeah. And the first three quarters, the game was a pretty good game considering the fact that it was, first game of the year against two teams, rival teams in the region. But as I said before, final score 57-44. I'm pretty sure that MCM ended the game on like a 19-3 run at one point, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, we're just going to run down some box scores, and that, what you said, I agree with all of that there. It's just something we're going to have to work on throughout the year. Box score for the Titans, their total 44 points. Maria Baker with 16 to lead the way, Emily Fox with 12. Then next we have Hallie Schmidt with 6, Krista Glanzer with 4, Charlotte Tobin with 3, Kaya Schmidt with 3 for the total of 44 points. Went 6 for 7 from the free throw line. Also another note, 17 turnovers in the game by the Titans.
That's a killer.
That's a big killer there, especially in that third and fourth quarter when we needed some offense and we weren't getting anything there. And then for Salem, lead the way, Madison Kepsel, 24 points. And then Michaela McCormick with 12 to lead the way. We got Ashton Wobig, couldn't remember her name there for a second, with 11. And then a couple more at 3 and 4 for their total of 57, 6 for 8 from the free throw line. They only had 9 turnovers. The score difference in the fourth quarter was 22-7, which is insane. That was just what the fourth quarter looked like. It was pretty ugly for the Titans, but it was a good game to build on, I think, those first 3 quarters.
It was really interesting to see that first quarter because we played the best first quarter of basketball I've ever seen our team play. They didn't score. McCook Central did not score till about, 5 minutes left?
Halfway in, I'd say.
It was crazy how good a defense we played, and then we were just flat.
Yep.
So whatever we can do to replicate that first quarter will actually win us a ton of games.
Yep.
And that was a game we couldn't lose.
Yeah. That was a game where we went out big right away. It was 9-0 run to start the game. They call timeout. They bring it back 16-10 after the first quarter. Both teams score 16 in the second. MCM outscores us 9-5 in the third. That was a big defensive battle that third quarter. And then the end of the third quarter is where they scored all their 9 points. And then the fourth quarter was just a big blowout for your final. 57-44. Titans go to 0-1 on the year. First game, though, not a bad game, as we said before.
I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to think about because I think this team really has a ton of potential.
Yeah.
So let's hope they build from there.
Yep.
And you can hit up their next. When's our next game?
Friday at Gregory.
Right. And we'll put that up here in a little bit. But I think that's a game where we need to really come out and make a statement.
Yep. And with that, we'll start with the preview of the doubleheader on Friday against Gregory. All games will be in Plankton. A little bit of schedule change due to Gregory's lack of players, I guess, because as you can see on their varsity roster for girls, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players. That might expand as the year goes on, but other than that, this game should be a pretty big win for the Titans.
For our girls especially, they need to come out and have, like I said, a statement win. But I really see us winning by a lot here. And if it's not, I'm shocked. This has to be a win.
Yeah, it's got to be 0-2 is really not the start you want, but you can always rebound from that. And then with that, the boys' game is going to be a very interesting game, in my opinion. Gregory with two studs in Daniel Mitchell and Coy Detterman. Coy Detterman a 6'2 junior, and Daniel Mitchell a 6'7 freshman. I mean, these guys are just athletic freaks.
Right. It's nuts to see what they bring to the table, and it's going to be interesting to see how we defend this and keep them from putting points on the board, because that's what they do best.
Yep.
So if we can keep them from scoring, I really think that this is a game we can win. You know what I mean? So if we can keep them guys off the board, or at least limit that, there's no reason we don't win this game.
Yep. And Gregory, in the past, they really like to run the floor. Whenever they get it in transition, they like to run and lob it up to the really tall kids. It's going to be a really physical game. Gregory's always physical. We're always physical. So we're hoping to have a rebound off of last season, because last season obviously wasn't the best for the boys, but looking for a good bounce back. After that, the schedule, I believe, another Tuesday, Friday games, if I'm not mistaken, for the Titans.
Yeah,
both in Mount Vernon, I believe.
We go to we're in Mount Vernon against West Central and versus Freeman next week, 15th and 18th. So
perfect. So after that, we gave an interview to senior player for the boys basketball team, Riley Dinert, on just his thoughts of the season. So we'll take it to Chuck for that.
Thanks, Larsch, for that. And today I am here with the man, the myth, the legend, Riley Dinert. And we're going to talk a little bit about everything today in the world of basketball. So my first question for you today, what are some things you see going well for you this year on the basketball court?
Well, I think we're a lot more experienced this year than we have been in past years. I think that's going to carry over to just playing more relaxed, and I think our shooting has improved a lot from previous years, and I think we're going to have a pretty solid season this year.
Good. So December 11th, your first game against Gregory, how will Gregory be this year?
They're going to be a pretty solid team. They have two very good athletes and basketball players in Daniel Mitchell and Coy Detterman. So they're going to be a pretty solid team, but I think if we can lock those two down, we'll be able to handle them.
I could agree there. And them being a B team, they're going to be pretty competitive too. So, yep. And Gregory's a pretty competitive B team, and you see, that's another thing too. So now let's talk a little bit about our team. Who are some of the people you play best with on our team?
I'd say Colby Kaiser, Reed Russ, and Lincoln Clues. Colby's got a really good three-point shot, and he's just really good at hitting that kick-out three when you need it, which is a big momentum swing a lot of times. And Reed is just great at creating his own shot, and it helps the offense flow a lot, and he does a good job with that. And Lincoln is just a great defender, and he kind of spreads that enthusiasm throughout the whole team, and just makes everybody.
Right. It also helps that you've played with these guys for a while, and it really helps you understand and what they do more. So, and this is kind of a grasping question, but out of the 20 games we have this year, what's a record you can see plausible for our team?
I could see 16-4. I think we're much improved from last year, and we're going to take a big step this year, and I think we have a real chance at being a very good basketball team this year.
Well, that's awesome to hear. So now let's switch over to the girls' team a little bit. In their first game last night, a loss from McCook Central, the Larsch and I talked about earlier. So what are your thoughts about that, or their team this year?
I thought they played pretty good throughout most of that game. I think the final score is a little skewed because, they were ahead for most of that game. Mm-hmm. But I just think that they're pretty inexperienced at the varsity level so far. And I think they're going to have a good future, and they're going to improve a lot throughout the year. Yeah. But right now it's just a matter of getting experience, because they do have some very good basketball players with great potential, but they just don't have that experience so far.
Yeah, and I agree, and Larsch and I hit this earlier, but it's going to be interesting to see where they go from now to the end of the year.
Thank you for that interview, Charlie, with senior player of the Titans, Riley Dinert. It's obviously great to see a player's standpoint. And with that interview, that wraps up the 28th episode of the CharCole Podcast. As I said before in the beginning, it's full-fledged basketball season now. That's all you're really going to see. So from Cole Larsch and Charlie Prien, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.